Imagine a highway near the Gulf Coast. Rain hitting the windshield sideways. Palm trees bending until they almost touch the ground. A line of trucks sits parked in the wind. Engines off, curtains closed, and inside each one, a driver stays exactly where he is, in a metal box, getting hammered by the rain. Somewhere across the road, a hotel sign glows through the storm. The lobby is bright, the doors keep opening as more people hurry inside. A warm room, a dry bed, walls that don't shake in the wind. Most people assume it's the money, but that's not it. Because if the hotel is warmer, quieter, and only a few steps away, why would anyone choose to stay inside the truck? To understand that, you have to stop thinking of the semi-truck as just a vehicle. Most people assume that a truck is just transportation. Something you drive, then park, then leave behind for the night. For a driver who spends hundreds of nights a year on the road, it doesn't work that way. Somewhere along the highway, that cab stopped being just a truck. Inside it, his own bed, his own seat shaped exactly to his body after months of the same drive, the same smell of diesel and coffee that never quite goes away. His own silence, his own routine, his own privacy. A hotel room offers none of that. It's someone else's space first. A stranger slept there last night. A stranger checks in again tomorrow. Different sheets, different smell, and a room that resets the moment he walks out the door. Comfort matters. Control matters more. And leaving the truck behind sounds simple enough until you realize what he's actually leaving behind. What he'd be leaving behind isn't just a bed and a familiar smell. It's a 53-foot trailer sitting alone in a lot that was never built for something that size. Picture trying to park a small house. That's roughly what a loaded semi looks like next to a hotel. Most lots don't have enough space for it. And during a hurricane, the few spots that do have space are already packed. Evacuees, emergency crews, families who left home with whatever they could fit in the car. So the truck becomes an obstacle. One more oversized vehicle in a parking lot, already struggling to handle the hundreds of people that are escaping the storm. And it's not empty. Behind that trailer door could be medicine headed to a pharmacy, food headed to a grocery store, parts headed to a plant that can't run without them. Every minute spent away from the truck is a minute someone else isn't watching it. And everything the driver actually owns, from his clothes to his laptop to his tools, is sitting inside too. There's a cost to that. A quieter one. Every night spent in a hotel room is a night that eats into what he actually takes home at the end of the month. At this point, most people are probably thinking the same thing. Why not just leave the trailer behind and drive the truck back to the hotel? It sounds simple enough. Unhook the trailer, leave it parked over there, and drive the cab over to the hotel. But most drivers aren't allowed to do that. Trailers are often required to stay connected or parked in a specific approved location, not left sitting wherever it happens to be and wherever is convenient. Even when it is allowed, disconnecting takes time. Lowering the landing gear, disconnecting the airlines and the electrical, pulling forward carefully so nothing gets damaged. In calm weather, it's a 10-minute job. But in sideways rain and wind strong enough to bend palm trees, well, that's a completely different story altogether. And once he drives away, that trailer is out of sight. Which brings him right back to where he started. So the truck stays, and so does he. Which means that that cab isn't just where he's stuck for the night. It's actually where he wants to be. Step inside, and the first thing you notice is how little of it feels random. The bunk is exactly where he left it. The blanket is his. The coffee mug sits in the same holder it always sits in. Nothing here belongs to a stranger. There's a low hum somewhere behind the seat. A small auxiliary unit running quietly, keeping the cab warm without the main engine on. Most drivers don't even think about the brand anymore. Rigmaster, Thermo King. It's just the sound of the truck taking care of itself. Same way the hum of a refrigerator disappears into the background of a normal house. And there's one detail almost no one outside of trucking ever thinks about. In that bunk, he knows exactly who slept there last night. It was him. There's no strangers' sheets, no unknown guest down the hall, just the same mattress, the same routine, the same small world that resets exactly the way he left it. That kind of certainty doesn't exist on the other side of the parking lot. That small world doesn't just feel familiar. During a hurricane, it actually works harder than the hotel across the road. Open the fridge, still stocked. Check the APU, still running quietly, keeping the cab comfortable without the main engine running. Reach for the extra blanket tucked behind the seat. Most drivers hope they never need it, but storms have a way of turning just in case into, God, I'm glad I packed that. Meanwhile, across the parking lot, the hotel is only as strong as its weakest system. If the hotel loses power, the room changes completely. The lights go out, the elevator stops between floors, the air conditioning goes quiet, and with it, any illusion that walls alone are enough. If the truck loses power, the driver already knows exactly what the backup plan is. He doesn't know if the hotel generator will start. He doesn't know if the elevator will work again tonight. He doesn't know if the front desk has any real answers. But he does know exactly what's inside his truck. The driver's not waiting for someone else to solve the problem. Comfort matters, but control matters more. But there's still one danger neither the hotel nor the truck can fully control. It's not inside either. It's not outside in the wind, but during a hurricane, the safest place isn't always the strongest building. Sometimes, it's simply the place that gives you the most options. An empty trailer doesn't behave like a truck anymore. It behaves like a sail. Strong crosswinds push against that flat side, and the emptier the trailer, the easier it is to shove it sideways. A gust that barely nudges a car can move a trailer several feet across a lane. So experienced drivers stop thinking about which parking lot spots look nicest. They start thinking about which one gives them a way out. They look for higher ground, away from trees that come down first, and the low lots that fill with water the fastest. They park with the nose facing into the wind whenever they can, because a truck facing sideways into a gust is a truck fighting to stay upright. But none of this means outrunning the storm. Professionals don't try to beat a hurricane. The smart move is always to stop early, get inland, and get out of the path before the wind turns dangerous. But every so often, a driver chooses to stay close instead of driving away. Not because he's stubborn, but because of what's still sitting behind him. Behind him is that trailer, and it's not always running from the hurricane. Sometimes it's loaded with exactly what a town is going to need the moment the storm passes. Bottled water, generators, fuel, boxes of medicine headed for a pharmacy that's just about to run out. Under normal rules, drivers are limited in how many hours they can be on the road before they have to rest. But when an official emergency is declared, that changes. The system built to keep drivers safe also has a switch built into it. One that lets emergency freight move faster, so a shelf that would normally take days to refill can be refilled in one. That doesn't mean that the rules disappear, it just means that the path gets shorter. The driver hauling that load still checks the wind, still checks the radar, still makes the same calls about where it's safe to park and where it isn't. He's not driving into danger for no reason. He's driving toward the exact spot where, in a day or two, empty shelves and empty gas tanks are going to need someone to show up. And even he knows there's a difference between doing that job and refusing to admit when it's time to stop. The cab gives control. It doesn't make anyone invincible. There are nights when staying is the wrong call. If the water starts rising, If the wind crosses the point where the trailer stops feeling like a truck and it starts feeling like a sail. If an evacuation order comes through and the parking lot itself is no longer safe. In those moments, the cab isn't a fortress. It's just a vehicle sitting in the same storm everyone else is. The drivers who last the longest on the road know this better than anyone. They don't trust the truck blindly. They watch the radar. They listen to the warnings. They know the difference between a night that's uncomfortable and a night that's genuinely dangerous. The storm passes overnight. By morning, the hotel sign across the road is dark. No power. Branches scattered across the parking lot where cars used to be. But the truck is still there, parked on higher ground, exactly where the driver left it. Inside, he checks the route, starts the engine, and waits for word from dispatch. Somewhere down that road, a town needs water, fuel, medicine, and supplies that don't move themselves. So the next time you drive past a truck parked beside a hotel during a hurricane, don't assume that the driver made the uncomfortable choice. He probably made the one that gave him the most control. If you're a truck driver, I want to hear from you. What's the worst storm you've ever ridden out in your cab, and what got you through? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if you've never driven a truck, would you have guessed any of this before watching? What surprised you the most? Thanks for watching. If this gave you a new perspective on life behind the wheel, hit like and subscribe for more stories like this one. Let's keep sharing this world. There's a lot of respect due to the people who keep everything moving, even when everyone else is headed the other way. I'll see you down the road.